Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the PC Gamer Show live on Twitch.television. I'm your host, James Davenport. What's today, October 7th? With me, we got Joanna Neely, hardware staff writer. How are you, Joanna?
I'm doing great. Ready to talk some Diablo and Overwatch. Heck yeah.
Right on. And we got Tyler Wild, executive editor. How are you, Tyler?
How's it going? Pretty good. An early show.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't warmed up my mouth yet. Apparently, yeah. But yeah, this is going to be sort of our new time slot. It's not locked in yet because we got to find out what like best fits into our schedule in terms of prep and all that jazz. But this is kind of just like a our first run at it. We'll see how it goes. But it's going to bring a whole new attitude to the show. The morning slot, we've all got our coffee. We're all sort of inhabiting. We're not dead tired quite yet, or worn out from the slew of early morning news and Twitter reading. We're refreshed and feeling nice and ready to just take on the day. It's a new optimistic, washed out by the sun in the webcam PC Gamer Show. So
Not me. I'm in a dark, horrible cave.
Dungeon.
well, we gotta play to the stereotype a little bit, and hide in our basements. Yeah. So show today for anyone who's sort of been away, who typically only watches us on Twitch or the video format, doesn't listen to us on iTunes or Spotify or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Pretty much the same show, but we've introduced a new segment, the news quiz. So look forward to that. Have I talked about what we're going to talk about today? It's BlizzCon. BlizzCon happened. A lot happened in BlizzCon. We're going to talk about Diablo 4. That got announced. We're going to talk about Overwatch 2. That got announced. And you two were there. You two were at the BlizzCon. Is that true?
At the BlizzCon, yes.
The BlizzCon.
I went to a different one. I went to this knockoff BlizzCon.
Oh, no. Oh,
It sucked.
I told you to watch out for those scams, Tyler. Man, they get you down in Anaheim.
Oh, Tyler will learn someday. Maybe. And then we're going to wrap the show with some early impressions of Red Dead Redemption 2's PC version, which launched Monday. Tuesday. It's been a weird week. And I've been playing that for review. So I have thoughts. And I'm sure the internet has thoughts if you haven't already been aware. It's not the smoothest launch for Rockstar. But why don't we start with highlights of the week? And highlights of the week are just anything in PC gaming that kind of stand out to us, whether it's something we played, something we read, or something we saw, heard, talked about that we can relate back to our hobby and we think is worth sharing. So why don't we start with who wants to go first? I'm just going to throw it to you guys. Who wants to share?
I've been playing my first auto battler.
Your very first auto battler. I'm so proud of you. How's that?
Yeah. It's fine. I'm talking about the Hearthstone Battlegrounds mode, which it's super weird that they would name it that because it also kind of has the same like player unknown Hearthstone Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. But it's I didn't really get what they were all about because I don't play Dota 2 or League. So I figured I would not be able to understand any of those, but I do know Hearthstone fairly well, I guess. It's actually fun. It is, I don't know, it's addictive. It's pretty slow, the pace of it. There's a lot of sitting and waiting for a timer to run out. But I don't know, it's all about the sense of anticipation you have when you think you've set up a good combo and you don't know you don't know what's going to be on the other side of the board.
I kind of understand I understand how Hearthstone works. I've played it. How does this like exactly break down or translate into an auto battler format?
It's 8 players. You start with a recruit phase where you can spend gold to buy minions to put on your side of the board. You can also use your hero ability, which is there are going to be varying ones. Like I don't know, one of them gives all your minions a thing where they die, they'll summon
Mhm.
a 1/1 minion in their place. Some of them mess with the tier structure of the minions, like giving you access to higher level minions earlier. There's lots of different ones, but so you buy a minion, right? You put it on the board. This is round one. You have 3 gold. The minions always cost 3 gold throughout the game. You put it on the board, and then you're matched with another player, and your minions fight each other. And if one player has any left standing at the end of the fight, those minions help your hero deal damage to their hero, and last one standing wins. So it's pretty simple early on. You just have a few minions of varying power
Hmm.
fighting each other, but later on you'll have a full board, and they always attack left to right, so you can set up all kinds of combos. Like I can have a mech on the right side that gains health and attack every time another friendly mech dies, and then cover the left side of the board with stuff that summons mechs, so that by the time it gets to my guy on the right, he's super powerful. There's all kinds of like interesting combos you can set up. But the other thing you can do is that during that recruit phase, you can play cards that like give cards stat boosts.
Okay.
And anything that happens in that recruit phase is permanent. The way the
Mhm.
board looks as you've set it up during that phase is the way it'll look after the fight when you come back. Your minions don't actually die. They come back in whatever. So you can end up with like a guy with like 60 attack and 60 health by the end of it. Usually someone just emerges with a pretty quickly with a super dominant board. You can all kind of tell who's going to win halfway through sometimes, but you never know. I won once, and it was just
Congratulations.
I had a lot of random summons, I think, in there, and I got lucky with what I happened to summon. So
Yeah, cool. I mean, it sounds like an interesting variation of all of
yeah,
the existing game. Maybe not. I guess the word I'm hearing is that it's not like this big kick in the pants. This is probably not going to be a
no,
phenomenon in the same way that Teamfight Tactics and for a while Underworld. I don't know, whatever the Dota one was.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It helped me understand the appeal of those
Mm.
games and why they're addictive. It's just exciting seeing what you're going to get in the next round. Is it oh, that minion is perfect for my strategy, and then watching it play out. It's like setting up like a Rube Goldberg machine, and
Mm.
then watching it all work, or
Cool.
not work. But yeah, I feel like I've seen a lot of the strategies that there are now after just playing it for 2 days. So
Mm.
I don't know if it's going to be quite as big a deal as those games.
Right on.
Well, actually, I can tell you right now, it's
It's
not.
not.
Yeah,
Hey, but like if you want to play something a little with a different pace,
yeah,
and Hearthstone's kind of your main squeeze, then what the hell?
yeah. Right now, to get in, you need to either have attended BlizzCon, bought a virtual ticket, or pre-order
Okay.
the next Hearthstone
Mm.
expansion.
So this is
But
a beta technically then?
yeah, this is like the
Something like that.
closed early access, and then open beta, I think, is
Okay.
in a weekish. Yeah,
Cool. More ways to do the cards.
yeah,
Always
more
down for
card
that.
stuff.
Joanna, what's been grabbing your attention?
Grab my world. A lot of different things kind of. So last night I finally started playing After Party,
Mm.
which is the latest game from Night School. And they did Oxenfree, and basically you're two best friends and you go down to hell, and it's one big party and you have to out drink Satan, and shenanigans ensue basically.
Fun.
It's pretty, it still has that like kind of dark slant like Oxenfree had,
Mm.
but it's a lot more humorous. Very similar, like the dialogue system is pretty much the same. They still have like the same like talk bubbles and
The free
everything
flowing
else.
dealio. I really like that system. Yeah.
Yeah, the voice acting and dialogue itself is just absolutely incredible, just like the first game. So I'm not very far into it, but I am immensely enjoying it. I also Monday, like kind of right after BlizzCon, flew up to EA and Maxis, and I unfortunately can't talk about anything about what I played until next week. But got some time in with the upcoming Sims 4 University
Oh,
expansion.
baby.
So it's all I could say is good. It's good.
Right on.
But yeah,
Cool.
there'll be a preview coming for that Monday once the embargo drops at 8 a.m. So I'm excited for everybody to find out how cool this expansion is.
Right on. Right on. That's you
And
said
then
Monday is when we can start.
Monday,
Right on.
yeah. And then what else have I done? Oh, for an article for the mag, went back and played a game from 2001 called Sim Coaster.
Oh yeah.
Forgot how much fun that game
Uh-huh.
is, and how often all the guests just they puke everywhere.
I remember
There's
the
so
sidewalks
much
just
cleanup,
being plastered.
covered in vomit. And then the janitor strike, and then
Mhm.
the kids setting off stink bombs and letting trash cans on fire. And then the security guards come and they literally stuff them in sacks, like big burlap sacks,
Oh
and
my
they
God.
chuck them out of the park. Yeah. It's yeah. So that's what's been going on like the last week in my world. A lot of, and of course BlizzCon too, but yeah, a lot of different things.
Right on. Good healthy spread there.
Yeah.
For my highlight, I'm in this like post Disco Elysium depression where
Oh.
nothing's really grabbing me. But that's okay. Like I'm glad that I'm just sitting with what I played and really liking that. Just reflecting. It's rare in this, I guess, modern culture and the fact that it's my job to kind of sort of be up on the new thing all the time.
Move faster, James. We need
Yeah,
takes.
I know. I
Hey,
need to
James.
respond. It's been nice to just kind of sit with it and reflect a lot. And it's a game that I think invites a lot of reflection and recounting. So that's been good. But it kind of compelled me to look into some of the influences and of Disco Elysium. And the developer on Twitter conveniently posted a thread of just like, here's a lot of art and here's a lot of literature that inspired this game. And so I picked up The City and the City by, gosh, I don't know how to say the name. The City and the City. Tyler, you probably know this author. China Mieville? Mieville?
Yeah.
Mieville?
Yeah.
Yeah.
City in the City is good.
Yeah.
Good author. Yeah.
Pretty darn good author. I've read some other stuff by him, and this guy knows how to really lay down the impression of history and a history of politics and culture without just
The City in the
explaining it.
City was the first thing I thought of when I started playing
Oh,
Disco
interesting.
Elysium. So
Yeah.
definitely. It doesn't start the exact same way with a hangover, but it starts with a murder,
Yeah.
detectives,
In some sort of, I'm still, the setting is still unfolding to me, and I have not done a lot of research into what this is about, but the setting is also very like near future, sort of grimy, somewhere in Europe, on the edges of Europe, easy to see the influence there. And I'm enjoying that. I'm pretty early on, but it's nice to read. Remember that? That's pretty cool. But that's my highlight of the week. Otherwise, I've been playing Red Dead 2, and we'll get into all that. That's its own sort of emotional roller coaster. Before we dig into the main topics, why don't we let's do the news quiz? And I don't think either of you have done the news quiz.
I don't think I've
Nope. Did not know there was a news quiz until right now. Yeah.
So news quiz is basically my ripoff news quiz from all the other shows that do news quizzes, where I take a thing that transpired in PC gaming news, and I take a word out of the sentence, and you have to use your brain through either context clues or just preternatural like knowledge, or just maybe you already know what the answer is, and and tell me what that blank is. So you get ready to get started.
All right.
You start.
All right.
I make up the points and I choose the winner. So do your best, I guess, but also show me a little respect along the way. I don't want to hear any
Oh,
back talk.
I'll try.
All right.
I'm really competitive at trivia. So.
Oh, babe. All right, here we go. All right. Let's see. Who wants to go first?
I guess I'll do it.
All right. All right. So I put these in an order. I don't like try and pit you against the questions that will challenge you the most.
Okay.
But we'll see how it goes. Blank got some new Mass Effect themed skins for N7 Day, and this is a different game. Blank got some new Mass Effect themed skins for N7 Day.
Yeah, this sounds like a game that I don't play.
Is it?
New Mass Effect skins? What?
Mm-hmm.
Cue Jeopardy theme song. No, I have no idea.
Tyler, you want to come in for the swoop?
Yeah.
I'm gonna assume that's Anthem.
It is Anthem. Anthem got some new Mass Effect themed skins for N7 Day, including a new Shepherd Shuffle emote. So the game, where you're in the little robot things. Remember that game? Came out earlier this year.
We should go back in there, just see what the mood's like. You know, I feel like I haven't heard of. That's the first news about Anthem I've heard in weeks.
Yeah, probably a lot of like dumpster fires and looting. Well, I mean, it's a looting game. Next question for Tyler. Blank becomes Blank becomes a Borderlands 3 style loot shooter with this new mod.
I believe that would be Doom.
Yeah, there's a new mod called Border Doom that adds randomized loot drops, shields with their own capacities and recharge rates, and some fun stuff to make Doom a compulsive lizard brain fun time.
Do you think it's like a statement? Are they making a point with it, or do they?
Feels, I don't know. I read it as that.
Yeah. I want to play it, just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got XP. Wait, does it have XP? No, just randomized stats for the guns. But yeah, I don't know. I think you can read into it either way. I have a lot of thoughts about it myself, but it's interesting. It's interesting, and maybe a new way to experience that game if you want to. All right, next question. The Witcher, the Netflix series, The Witcher on Netflix leans more towards blank than fantasy, according to the visual effects supervisor.
I think that would be horror.
Yeah, it's gonna be spooky. It's gonna be spooky. Yeah, visual effects supervisor Julian Perry said that there's a lot of very unpleasant stuff going on in Geralt's world, which that makes me happy to hear. If you read the books or if you play the damn game, I think that's like some of the appeal that it has is that really stark, gross, grimy, freaky deaky stuff.
I understand how visual effects can lean toward the more horrific. I don't really understand how a visual effect can be more or less fantasy.
I think
sparkles.
I know what you're saying. Tyler. I think like the common understanding, like if we're reading into like what fantasy means to people now, as opposed to like what it literally like actually means. Like
Game of Thrones. Their visual effects are way too fantasy. They had dragons flying around.
Get those out of here.
That's interesting because like you got different subgenres of fantasy, and then there's dark fantasy, and then there's horror. And really kind of the only difference between any kind of fantasy genre and horror is that horror, like all hope is gone. There is no hope. Whereas even in dark fantasy, there's still a teeny bit of hope that something's going to turn out okay. So that's really the dividing line of it. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. December 20th. Right before we go on freaking vacation. Thanks a bunch to Netflix.
Yeah, who's going to binge that? James, you have to.
I think I was like gung-ho about it. I saw the date and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
You need to watch them all at 1.5 speed. So that you can get your take out.
Some good fight scenes. Next question for Tyler.
Mm.
Dark Souls modders have added the first blank into the game. This is a modding scene that's been around a while, and just now they added the very first blank.
I feel like I know this.
Now go into the news page. I hear
I'm
someone
not
typing.
typing.
I was people
All right.
slacking me.
Uh-huh.
They're slacking
Okay,
me. Plus,
uh-huh.
it's Tyler's question.
Dark Souls modders have added the first. What would be a first? I mean, people have put.
They got
probably
fidget
like,
spinners in
Thomas
that
the
damn
Tank
game.
Engine and stuff in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
What could they possibly not have thought of yet?
It was more of a technical limitation or a logical programming
it is.
problem. Yeah,
The
sorry.
first.
Unfair.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Joanna,
I
you have a
remember
guess?
the story, so I'm annoyed.
Can you repeat the question, Alex?
All right. Dark Souls modders have added the first blank into the game.
There's blank.
All right, you guys don't know it. The
Yeah,
very first
no.
custom map they added.
Oh.
Yeah, there's been you can go read the story, but it was a big toughie getting custom maps into the game, and a big problem had to do
surprised.
with like how collision meshes or something are baked in and yada yada. But
I thought I'd assumed that had already been done. So
I did too, and then I saw the headline. I was like, oh well, shit, guess not. And the very first map they added was Half-Life's Crossfire map, appropriately enough.
of course.
Of course.
Oh, next question. The very first Red Dead Redemption 2 mod turns Arthur into what?
Oh.
Hey, kitty.
God. I want to say Thomas the Tank Engine, but I know that's not
That's
right.
a good go-to for mods overall.
I have no idea. Look, I'm not typing either. Look, my hands are right here.
Tyler,
Yeah.
you're kind of like a
I remember
left of central kind of cultural bad boy. So I'm kind of wondering if I'm guessing that you know this just from heart.
I don't. I remember the story. It's okay. It's the first mod for Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
I remember it came out before the game was even available, and we weren't sure how that.
Yeah, I
Very
don't know how that
marked.
works either.
I don't know. Fucking.
Well, just think of the cultural zeitgeist because it's the Joker. It's the Joker. Arthur turns into the Joker in the very first Red Dead Redemption 2 mod. He just paints him, and it's the Joaquin Phoenix style.
I remember
Joker.
seeing it now. Yeah, they totally live in a society there.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what the whole. If you've ever played Red Dead Redemption 2, spoilers, but it's basically the plot of the Joker, so it makes sense.
Same thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's even
I'm just kidding. I haven't seen the Joker.
I haven't either.
I can guess what it's about.
Oh, what? It's so good.
All I
Both
know
of you.
is he dances on some stairs, and
I think that's what it's about. It's about how he comes to
Yes.
realize that he can dance.
loves to dance on
He
stairs.
loves to
Yeah.
dance.
Yes. And somebody recently put that the clip of him dancing on the stairs, but put over a Cialis commercial.
Oh my god. All
Over
right.
it.
That's pretty
That's
appropriate.
amazing.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Beautiful. All right, next question. Let's get
Let's
through these. Where is it? Oh yeah, Microsoft Japan proved that a blank or posits, I don't know, posits that a blank day work week is better for everyone.
This one's to me, right?
Yes.
That's 4.
It's a 4-day work week. Yeah, so Microsoft Japan, I think they tested it out, or recent trial by Microsoft Japan has demonstrated that it not only makes employees happier, but also increases productivity as much as 40%. So interesting,
Cool. I'm gonna
Tim.
take tomorrow off.
Tim, where are you, Tim?
Tim.
Yeah, PC gaming news don't stop is the problem.
Yep.
We can dream. All right, next question. Popular Fortnite YouTuber FaZe Jarvis was permanently banned for what?
Using an aimbot.
Yeah, and not just like discreetly, but literally is the subject of one of his videos. This is a guy with nearly 2 million subscribers. I think he's a youngster. He's like a 17, 16-year-old kid. And one of the subject of his videos last week was using an aimbot on an alternate account. Epic has a zero tolerance policy when it comes to this thing, and it's kind of nice to see it enforced across the board, even to figures of influencers, you might say.
Children.
It's a no-no. This guy argued that he was not using it in a competitive mode, but was still using it in a public match, which is competitive to the casual player.
Yeah.
You know, it's still going to impede on people's experience. Banned for good. How you enforce that? I don't know. I guess he can't make videos about it, so it'll be hard to sneak one in.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Could be tough.
Yeah. All right. Let's get through these. Kojima Productions is going to start making what, Tyler?
Movies.
They're going to start making movies. And
I disagree with that headline.
Uh,
Start making movies?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hearing rumors about Death Stranding having some 2-hour-long cutscenes.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not saying Death Stranding itself is a movie. I'm sure it's very interesting to play, but there are movie-length cutscenes in it, aren't there? So
You can't call it a cutscene at that point. Like it's a movie. Yeah.
You're cutting back to the game at that point. It's a cut game with scenes.
That's true. So this is a quote from a BBC documentary about Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima was quoted as saying, "In the future, Kojima Productions will start making films. If you can do one thing well, then you can do everything well." And I don't know about that. I don't know about
true?
that.
Is that true? If that's true, then
I think
I'm in a good place.
I think,
like,
yeah, I'm gonna start making movies.
Theoretically, no. Like, if I could write well, okay, then I should be able to math as well. Like, I could do calculus, but that is definitely not
start
true.
A circus troupe, because I can do circus
yeah.
things. Yeah, I think it's probably just a translation thing there, or at least there's some context missing where he's probably talking about like within the realm of
games,
visual media, or
of course,
cinematic.
Yeah. And I'm more interested in that in a way. I mean, I don't know. Death Stranding looks interesting to me. I just don't know. I'd rather watch a 2-hour movie. I feel like I don't know if I want to sink. How many hours does it take to get through Death Stranding?
I haven't read. Like, I've been avoiding the discourse.
Me too.
Muted all that stuff.
You gotta.
Just because, and it's still getting through my filters, but I want to play it for myself and make up my own mind, and then
I'll play it when it comes to PC next year and everyone's done talking about it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. It's kind of weird, like Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm trying to find an angle to write about this on the website, but like Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming out almost a year after the fact, and I played it back when, but it's been interesting. It feels like such a quiet. It's a huge game for the PC, but it feels just kind of like a soft. Everyone's kind of got their opinions out already. We've talked about every.
You just have to throw an opinion out of left field at them, blow their minds.
Oh shoot! I'll have to think of a new angle. What opinions are there left to have? Anyway, what's the next one here? Call of Duty Modern Warfare is getting blank more maps, according to a leak.
This one's mine.
Yeah. The Call of Duty expert.
Oh, I know, right? I always play Call of Duty. I don't know. I'm just gonna throw out a number. We're gonna say 12.
Wow. Why don't you multiply that by 3 and add 2? Because this leak alleges.
I can't.
Is that the
James?
Yeah.
I can't math.
I can, because I'm good at. Well, what am I good at? Shit, I don't think I'm good at anything. So maybe
I'm starting to realize actually, I don't think I am good at anything. So that's why I'm not. Yeah, if I were good at one thing.
That's all it takes. According to this leak, I don't know. This is
it was like 50 or something. It was a crazy huge number.
38. Yeah, it's 38 maps.
I went way too big.
There's a whole catalog to pull from, so it's not like too wild, I suppose. But I don't know.
It's a lot of maps.
Seeing that out of context and thinking about other games, I'm like, wow.
How many maps is too many maps, though?
It feels like too many. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, at what point is your mastery sort of spread out too thin?
In Siege, you have to know the maps so
Yeah.
so well to play. So they only keep, a handful in rotation, which I like. I wouldn't want to be like on one of 40 maps or something at any given time.
But hey, content. I need more.
Oh yeah, no, I always need more.
My cat, I don't know if you guys can hear this. My cat is like, thinks I'm talking to her when I do the show.
Yeah.
So sometimes she'll like talk back to me.
Oh,
She's
that's
running all
cute.
around. Anyway, if you hear any, and her meow is really disconcerting and strange, and it sounds like a cat that's being strangled. So if you
Oh,
if you
no.
hear the sound of a cat being strangled, they're very happy and safe and healthy. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Last question. Valve and Blank are rumored to be developing an AR headset. That's alternate reality headset.
So Valve and another company.
Another company. There are a couple companies besides Valve. So,
Yeah, I think there's 2 or 3
yeah, I heard about
total
a
companies
fourth one in the
involved.
works, but
Well, I feel like it wouldn't be Microsoft because they got their own thing going on. Sony? I don't know.
No. Joanna, do you know this?
Um,
You don't know this.
yeah.
Oh,
Facebook.
no.
Okay.
Apple. Apple.
Oh, that's
That's
right.
close.
Apple.
Interesting, huh? Yeah, so according to a report from Digitimes, Apple and Valve have teamed up to develop an AR headset. And it could be released as early as the second half of 2020. It's kind of interesting. I think, like, if you're going to team up, I don't know, like, Valve has been doing the R&D for this stuff forever,
Yeah.
and they can afford to do it forever because Steam is a weird backwater market where people just clean up their money in CSGO transactions. Maybe not anymore. And they also sell a lot of games and do other things. So yeah, it would make sense that Apple, rather than, I suppose, I guess they also have the capacity to start up their own thing, but just tap into Valve and
Yeah, well, I
see where they
mean,
can go.
yeah, like I said, Microsoft has its own AR project, so I guess if Apple wanted to compete with that, buddying up with Valve would make
Yeah.
sense, given they have the best and most expensive consumer VR headset.
Yeah.
Actually, not the most expensive. There's some really dumb stuff you can buy, but
Yeah.
I
Half-Life
mean, it's
3
Apple.
$1,000.
coming to iPhone.
Right. Oh God. But I mean, it's Apple, so their headset's gonna cost like three times as
Yeah,
much,
it's gonna be.
and not be as good. So
I will not be of the social class that is allowed to use this.
yeah.
Maybe for the job, I can taste what it's like to fly. All right, let's move on to next subject. Let's talk about Diablo 4. You guys were at whoops, I almost moved the entire frame out of the way. Y'all were at BlizzCon over the weekend. Busy, fun time. I think I don't know. I think Diablo 4 is the big one, right? It's the big one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I mean, obviously, it depends who you are. At the show, I talked to people who were just like, all they cared about was World of Warcraft, and
Yeah.
there were people all they cared about was Overwatch 2. So,
I
a
guess-
lot of people go to that show, and they're fans of one game, not just general Blizzard fans. So
Yeah.
I did talk to people who were like, "Oh, I don't care about Diablo 4. I want to see the WoW expansion."
But Diablo 4, interesting new. Well, okay, I think at first glance, that trailer and
Great trailer.
Yeah, the way they opened up talking about it's a return to a darker tone, and Lilith is born out of this beautiful, like, gross skin cape that covers the entire wall.
Delicious.
Yeah,
It's like a
Yeah.
blood cape, even.
yeah, really cool.
Flesh cape.
And Joanna, you're working on a sort of a lore symbolic breakdown of that trailer.
Yes, I am. Yep. Without giving too much away, just comparing kind of Lilith's lore so far in the Diablo series from 2 leading over into 4 right now, but then looking at kind of especially the symbolism of threes in the trailer, and then
Mm.
relating that back to the symbolism of threes and a lot of mythologies and religion. And ended up falling down a rabbit hole last night doing research on Lilith in Jewish mythology and folklore, and ended up learning a lot of interesting things. So am able to piece together a lot more subtleties in the trailer to actual historical lore that's been around for like
Right on.
over millenniums. So
Cool.
it's yeah.
You're the go-to for this because you're sort of the horror. I mean, like, I'm a
Yeah.
horror nut, but I think you're a true horror nut. Like, just bonkers for the stuff.
Yeah, I am.
And
Yeah.
so that'll be fun to look into. Sometime this week, sometime soon. Maybe?
Today
Oh, right on.
it's almost done.
Cool.
Tyler, I'm gonna pass it to you once I'm done with it. So there you
Sweet.
go.
All right.
But I think just surface level, how do you guys feel? Because the trailer's one thing, and then like we saw gameplay afterwards, and it's definitely like Tyler and I, you and I had a discussion on the website about the return to darkness, so to speak, and that was in the marketing and like their opening statements. Was a return to a grimier, darker, the grimier, darker roots of the series. Do you think that holds up, or what does that actually mean in practice?
That's definitely true of the art style, which 3 took more after World of Warcraft, I think. It was just kind of a cleaner look to it. This is much grimier, lots more skulls.
Love.
But as you and I talked about, the UI hasn't really changed. I mean, it has, with the basic elements of like, enemies kind of get a red outline when you mouse over them. It's not quite as dark as Diablo 2 was, like literally dark. There's a little more ambient light. Damage numbers pop off of enemies. There's big particle effects and, a nice little mini map and quest tracker. I think Diablo 2, part of what made it feel so oppressive is that you just had, when you're in a dungeon, you just had a little circle of light around you, right? And it was literally black outside of that unless there was a torch. So this isn't exactly a return to that. It's still like a really slick UI, and you can like hit space to dash dodge out of the way, and there's sort of new animation blending. So it feels pretty fluid. Whereas when I look back at Diablo 2, it was really clunky, the way you moved.
Yeah.
Just kind of like walked, tack.
Really
attack,
rigid animations,
which I think definitely colors our memory of it.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, I wrote at the time, like, I think a lot of people who long for a return to that darkness were growing up in a time when anything Satan adjacent was still in the broader culture felt a little bit more taboo, and now people are running around with like wicked demons tattooed on their arms and t-shirts, and it's the Christian fear is no longer like the dominant fear today. And for me, like in my life, like as a teen who like would play it in the back of a Radio Shack in this like dingy internet cafe and like kind of peer over the shoulder of like a cool like 17-year-old, and see all those skeletons and like dark scenes. That felt way freakier. And so I don't know, like I think it's gonna be for Diablo to like still be a game about loot and super empowered characters and to have that like detached, sort of distant and safe isometric viewpoint. It's never gonna be like, I don't think unless it's the art is truly fucked up and like there are some significant changes to how it plays. I don't think it's ever gonna like recapture that feeling, and that's okay. I don't think it's like, I don't think
it's still,
it needs to be that. But
I mean, like the trailer was great, the cinematic one. But then you get in, of course, and you're popping off lightning spells and shooting fire bolts at things and just killing everything you see. And I don't know, the demo wasn't too hard. They told me like, oh, well, if you go on the main quest path of the demo, like it won't be as hard. But if you go off to a different place, it'll be harder. And so I did on the second time. I just came out and turned left and ran somewhere else. And it was harder. The enemies had a higher level than me. But I don't know, I felt like I was cleaning them up pretty good. So I think they're going to have a hard time striking the right balance for everyone in the overworld, because it is a shared world. So it's not like you're choosing a difficulty option for that portion of the game, because they can't have it be harder for me out there than someone standing next to me. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. They said you can seek out, hard areas of the world. But then when you go into a dungeon, I guess that'll be like an instance for you and your co-op party if you have people where you can. They told me they'll have very granular difficulty settings for dungeons, so we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we should clarify is that, and probably the most exciting change for me, like Joanna, I don't know how you feel about the new look. I'm sure you're into it. If
Oh
I know you at
yeah.
all.
I have, yeah. I mean, in terms of, and I also played the demo too.
Right.
I kind of just assumed that like they gave us all of our abilities up front, so we
Oh,
had an idea of like what it would be like to play each class. So I just kind of assumed like, okay, maybe when the game actually comes out, like we're not going to start off with like all these other higher level abilities. And I don't know if that is actually true or not, but for me, I'm like, okay, because I have access to literally every high level ability, that made it easy for me to kill all the enemies and clean up.
right.
I like that it felt similar to Diablo 3 in terms of the gameplay. I thought the dialogue was way better though. Like the
That's
writing.
okay. I'm glad. I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up because like that's something I think that's been lost in the conversation. I want to get to eventually
Yeah.
something else, but like I hated Diablo 3's like really hokey, like I don't know. It felt like
Too like they were trying to be too grandiose with it, like
yeah,
high fantasy in this dark world, and it just
didn't
felt
work.
yeah.
Didn't work. The writing is a bit more grounded, or at least like grim and
Yeah,
suited to
it's
the setting.
Yeah.
the quest is very simple. Like you find this lantern in a crypt and you take it to this woman who's bound her son up, because he's having visions of this lantern and wants to go find it. And he's sort of raving about it, and you're just helping interpret those visions and then going in his place to what he sees. So it's a very, it's a very dark fantasy story, I guess.
I guess like it doesn't need to be friggin' literature for me. It just needs to like give me the sense of or communicate or reinforce the sense of a kind of a grimmer, more fucked up occult
Yeah, I
cultish
have
world.
no idea what the
Yeah.
overall story is going to be. Obviously, that trailer
Killing
made
demons.
it feel like it is going to be pretty grand,
Yeah.
but this little whatever it was, this little quest was fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I meant to get to this earlier, but to clarify, like the big new change is the structure, the overall structure of the game. This is a shared world, as you were saying, Tyler, but it's a big open world. It's not just
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
five zones. You have mounts. You can get
and it's
up on a horse.
contiguous. So like, it's
You
not
know,
like you're loading into new zones. It's all, as far as I know, right? It's contiguous.
I'm mad at video games for getting me to use the word mounts in place of horse. You have horses, and yeah, so it is all connected. You can go anywhere from the start. They say there is level scaling of enemies, so that if I've played 4 hours and you want to jump in, you're not just gonna be murdered by high level enemies. But
Okay.
they, they said that just because the levels of the enemy scale uh, doesn't mean that getting more powerful gear won't make you more powerful. But I'm trying to understand how
Yeah,
they must have a lot of. It feels like a complicated thing to design. Like
definitely.
if I'm level 8, and we want all the enemies in this area to be level 8, because we're scaling them to me. But I don't know, like super powerful gear that can, I don't know. It just seems like a lot to balance, like putting
Yeah.
level scaling in a game like Diablo. Or,
Okay.
but like I said, when you go into the dungeons, that's where you'll get. We didn't see this, but I guess that's where you'll get to choose how difficult you want to
Yeah.
make it.
Right. So like I don't understand it entirely. We don't need to get into like super specifics, but apparently like there are certain key drops that will allow you to transform dungeons
Yeah, in
into
the
endgamey.
end game.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
But
word end game always makes me worried, but
yeah, I don't know. Like yeah, that's like the most insidious part of Diablo for me is the end game. In these games,
but
period. But I don't know. Like I think for me, it's the open world is an exciting prospect. It's basically like an MMO. Right? Like
yeah, it's like a
right.
hybrid sort of
As
because
much
like
as
other
Destiny's an
players.
MMO or something, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
it's not like you join a server and there's persistent people who play on that server. It's just like
yeah,
players will appear in towns and you could party up with them or walk away and ignore them. And there will be world events, like a world boss that a bunch of players in an area could, I assume it'll appear on the map and try to attract players.
That's cool. Like that would be exciting for me as a player. Reminds me of Legion when that expansion for WoW came out. So
I suppose
yeah.
I just like really I think it's a great opportunity to because Diablo historically, or at least like 2 and 3 from what I remember, 3 especially, the main draw was just like the empowerment loop, just getting loot, running things over and over, and to
Yeah.
min max your guy and like more efficiently do the same things on higher difficulties over and over and over. And there's like a for people who are like math minded and really love that stuff. Excuse me, Froggy. That can be really fun. But for me, it's just like the mood and setting and looking cool.
Mhm.
Like the first time through Diablo is always great. Um, and I really hope like this overworld, it's an opportunity to make it an interesting place to explore. Like I just really hope it's not. We have some biomes and some dungeons to dip into. I hope there are really cool, just I don't know, like quests to stumble onto, or like tiny little,
Mm.
I guess, environmental stories, and secrets and one-off things. Like I hope that exploration itself becomes as like valuable as that
Yeah.
empowerment cycle. It's a
That's
cool world.
definitely the idea. I don't know. I ran into lots of dead bodies.
Skeleton
Um,
piles.
I went into one dungeon where there was like a dying guy who I could like protect from like waves
Mm,
of enemies. I think he died. So I don't know what would have happened if he didn't.
hmm.
But I guess I didn't protect him good enough.
You
Damn it, Tyler.
failed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, screw that guy. It's
Damn
only
I
a
like
20-minute demo. I had things to do.
it.
right. Only so much time. You mentioned the lantern quest. The kid basically exploded, like just started vomiting black out of his mouth, like
Same.
exorcist style. I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, more of this, please. But I think the story is going to be absolutely bonkers if we're gonna go off the trailer as any indication of that. I mean, Lilith's gonna play a major part in this story. She's not just going to be like some endgame boss like
Hmm.
Diablo 2. Like and I mean, you're basically like fighting all of her demons along the way, which harkens a lot back to her mythology
Mm.
as well. Because I mean, for like long story short, one part that I'm writing about is she is actually believed to be Adam's first wife, but she basically was like, well, Adam doesn't see me as an equal, so I'm just gonna go fuck off and do my own thing. And then God sends 3 angels to go find her by the Red Sea. When they get there, she's created all of these demons, and they're basically like, Lilith, what are you doing? You're not supposed to do this. Adam wants you back. Go back. And she's like, no, I'm not going back. So she strikes a deal with the angels. They allow her to stay out there, but they're gonna kill like 100 of her demons every single day.
Shit.
So yeah, so I'm like,
Cool stuff to
okay,
draw from.
yeah, it doesn't seem like they're going down that exact path, considering like the lore that they've already established
Mm.
for her. But there's they've definitely pulled out a lot of things
Cool.
from it. So yeah.
Either way, I mean, like, I'm glad we're reflecting on Diablo 4 right now. But we got, in terms of release, we got the. It's been a while since I heard this Blizzard answer of when it's done or whatever. Like we don't know. And Tyler, you were saying you'd be really, really surprised if it doesn't happen next year.
Well, not necessarily. They've announced it for the current generation of consoles,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's going to be new consoles at the end of next year, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean that they can't release it on, across all the consoles in 2 years, or who knows?
Right.
I think after last year, when people were disappointed about Diablo Immortals being announced, and after the various other controversies Blizzard has gone through, they knew they needed a big show.
Yeah.
So, the fact that it was playable tells me like maybe it's a little farther along than they are saying, but they kept telling me there's a ton of work to do. So
Okay.
we'll see.
Yeah.
I would love to talk about the demons and blood and the black vomit for much longer, but we got some more stuff to get through. And Overwatch 2 is one of those things. Overwatch 2,
Yeah.
Joanna, like this is not. I liked your headline because
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Blizzard coming out came out of the gates saying like we're gonna redefine what sequels are, and your headline was what exactly?
It was it Overwatch 2 is definitely an expansion rather than a sequel.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
So break down what this is for us and what you mean by that.
So, I mean, playing the demo and talking with the developers, this was essentially their chance to delve into a lot of the lore that they've already established through the archives for the current game. So whatever bits and pieces we know, they're expanding on that
Cool.
through hero quests and or the not quests, the hero modes and story mode for Overwatch 2. So this is a chance to go more in depth as to actually what happened to, I'm assuming, the disbanding of Overwatch, everything that happened in between, why the null sector is like kind of crazy scary this time around, which is the whole reason why Winston is trying to bring back the Overwatch crew, is because things are getting a little bit out of hand. So this is that chance in a PvE setting to experience more of the lore and the what's his name, Michael Chu, and the I think he's the lead story writer for Overwatch. He was just saying like we've been dying to tell this for a very, very long time. So the game is still very far off from coming out.
Surprising.
I mean, Jeff Kaplan said that, but I mean, if you played the demo, and Tyler, I don't know if you got to play the demo as well.
I didn't make it.
Oh, you didn't make it, darn it. It felt you can feel how far off it is in the demo, because they only had a like 20-minute like story mode basically. Everything they talked about with hero modes and everything else like that wasn't there. They basically only have like rough ideas of how they want leveling to work for the hero modes. If it's going to be, some type of RPG branching skill tree, or if it's going to be more like a progression system, which is what the story mode is, which is similar to Heroes of the Storm. But they did say that they likened, or if they likened the hero mode to more like the world quest for WoW. Or I forget what other example they gave, but it's in my article. But they're playing around with a lot of ideas at the moment, and I will put money on they're gonna have another demo of Overwatch 2 at BlizzCon next year, but it's gonna be very, very different. They just there wasn't, it played very much like Left 4 Dead 2, in the sense that you are able to pick between 4 heroes, and the heroes are designated based on which map you're playing. So you don't get to, like, hero mode, you don't get to run in there and be like, oh, I want to play Widowmaker. Well, no, the map that we played on Rio, we only had Tracer, Reinhardt, Lucio, and May to choose from. And if your other teammates got in there and picked one before you, you're basically stuck with, okay, well, go ahead.
I
What?
was wondering. No, I was just
Yeah.
wondering about that because
Yeah.
trying to design a co-op experience that's like in a story mode, like with people picking any character, would be. It feels like it would be impossible, right?
Yeah.
That sounds tough,
It's
especially for Overwatch.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what they said. They're like, for story mode, as much as we would love to give, everybody the option to play whatever we want, like, we can't effectively, like, tell the best story that we can unless we limit it.
I mean, there are characters who can
Yeah.
fly, so you have people like
Yeah.
flying out of the map, or not necessarily that, but just
Yeah.
like if you're trying to put certain specific challenges in the player's way, right?
Yeah.
You can have a player who can just skip that challenge based on their ability.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I'm assuming, that their thought process is exactly the same with that. But yeah, it's just basically you run through there and you're fighting a bunch of robots, and then you get to the end and you fight the big bad robot.
How
And
do we
then
feel about robots as an enemy? I don't like robots as an enemy.
no, I mean, it's the null sector, so it goes along with the lore. But I asked them, I'm like, are we gonna fight robots the entire time? And they're like, well, we can't really say anything, but you're definitely, gonna come across like some other characters. And they were very, very vague about
Which is
it.
so early, I
Yeah,
guess. Huh.
they're still figuring stuff out. So, but I don't want to fight robots the entire time either, especially when there's like other characters that are like the antithesis for what Overwatch is. I think that'd be very exciting to bring those in there and see what they do with it. The what else? The new PvP mode, the push map.
Yeah.
Interesting concept. Don't know, unless the teams are evenly matched. It's just going to be like payload, because the robot just pushes along, hits certain checkpoints along the way, and they can get to the end of the map. The team that I play with, we completely got smashed. Like they steamrolled us so bad. But then like payload, if how the opposing team, like if they, or the team that's defending, if they stop the payload after a certain point of time, it starts to slowly roll backwards. I mean, push is just like that, except when the other team gets control of the robot, it goes back towards the other endpoint at the same pace. And the maps are symmetrical this time around. They're a bit bigger. There's a lot more places to flank and to like kind of hide in a corner. The other team, the Bastion, already knew where all the good spots were, so that was a huge reason why we just got mowed down. And it was like, why? But it seems like there still needs some lots of work, a lot of polishing. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it definitely didn't excite me as much as Diablo 4 did. I will say that. Yeah.
At least it's something to, I don't know, Overwatch. When I talk to people, and Bo last week, rest in peace, Bo. Well, he's not dead. He's not dead. Just I shouldn't joke about that kind of thing, but he's no longer with PC Gamer, the trader. But yeah, like the impression I get is that Overwatch is in need of some kind of restructuring or kick in the pants, something to give it new life, especially in this era of, I don't know. It came out right before the big Battle Royale dealio, and right before a lot of games went free to play or tried different like monetization models. Like I know Siege went really cheap and kind of found a big persistent audience, and Overwatch is getting just big and complicated in terms of the multiplayer mode. And so I'm just kind of wondering, do you feel like this is gonna be enough, or are we just kind of waiting until next year until we see like how this stuff shapes up in the long term.
Yeah. I don't know. I think waiting.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot to go on right now. I
Yeah.
think they have good ideas and there's a lot of potential, but it's just waiting to see like how all those ideas actually take shape and how it comes out in the game in terms of the story and the mechanics.
Yeah.
And not, I mean, 20-minute demo like Diablo. I mean, it's not a whole lot to go on, but the thing with Diablo, I mean, that demo felt so polished. So
It did, I will say
yeah.
that. Like, I don't have a sense of how much of this open world in Diablo 4 they've built. It could be that this is their vertical slice. This one area is what exists.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, they definitely have a long way to go. But they really wouldn't give us an indication. But it did feel like a completed game we were playing. It didn't feel like, or Diablo 4.
Blizzard sheen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought one of the cutscenes was a little bit, like, I don't know.
The one where she's like kind of crawling through the tunnel.
It wasn't
the
most slick. They have to do a lot of cutscenes in engine now because there's going to be character creation.
Oh yeah.
So I think most, if not all, the cutscenes will be in engine. So that'll be different, I think.
Gotcha.
I like that.
But yeah, it felt very close to being sort of the final product, but just a sample of it, though. I have no idea how
they got to build out the rest.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I guess we'll be that one. Jeff Kaplan also said we have no idea when it will be done, and it's a long way off overall from the sound of it. Probably longer than
I believe him. Like, I mean, we'll have something again to play with at Overwatch, or not Overwatch, at BlizzCon next year, but it felt very much like they're still trying out stuff.
Gotcha.
And they wanted to have something for everybody to try out just to see like, hey, here's what we're thinking of. Let's like unofficially get everybody's feedback. That's what it kind of felt like. It was, it's still very Overwatchy.
Gotcha.
So, I mean,
cool. Well, I don't want to keep you guys too long. So why don't we just move on to the final topic of the day? Yeah. Oops. Which is Red Dead Redemption 2. Came out on PC Tuesday. I've been playing a bunch of it. I've already played through the story on hello cat on the PlayStation 4 when it first came out. So I kind of know what to expect there. I played a couple hours of it anyway, and otherwise I've been playing the multiplayer mode because I think that's sort of what will have the longest tail. If the GTA Online is anything to go by, a big role-playing scene. Huge player population, and I think Red Dead 2 could tap into that. I mean, it's Rockstar, so they'll support it for a long time. But yeah, I kind of summed up my early thoughts on the website after one day, and the big takeaway is that I think it's one of the prettiest games I've ever played, or at least like in terms of how it captures America, sort of at the tipping point between still being a early colonization and the following wave of like industrialization and law that kind of wiped out the Old West. And that's where the story goes. That's what the story is all about. It's about Arthur Morgan and his band of outlaws, his chosen family, sort of contending with these new incoming imperial forces, and how that changes their relationships with one another and the relationships to strangers and nature itself. It's like a really, really well done character story. And it's kind of hard to articulate because it is essentially, it's so fucking long. Something like I played like 50, 60 hours. That it's kind of hard to boil down into like good or bad. I think it's good overall, but it's basically like saying every season of, if you're going to look at the Game of Thrones TV series or something and say, well, that was a good show. But even if like half of it was shit, there's some peaks and valleys in this narrative as well. But overall, I think Arthur Morgan's story is it's Rockstar's best story yet, and it's most personal and humane. It's not bogged down by silly satire that doesn't always work. It's just a nice human take on the era. More Deadwood than any spaghetti western kind of style, though. So I like it.
I like that.
Yeah.
You caught my attention at like role playing on the
Yeah.
multiplayer servers. I'm
Yeah.
like, because I've always been like, I'm pretty much like 99.9% like game on PC solely. Just I don't like controllers. So watching some gameplay of Red Dead in the past, I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. It
Yeah.
looks like I could get into this, but like it's such a huge time sink. But I like the idea of role playing. So I mean
Yeah.
that would be a reason why I would pick this up on PC. Did they have that when it released a year ago on console?
I don't think the online mode came and maybe came a week later in beta,
Okay.
and it didn't have. I just didn't touch it because the idea of playing. I don't like the shooting controls on the console. It's really sluggish and imprecise, and
Yeah.
I just didn't bother. I know it was pretty thin and bare bones compared to what it is now. And I will say, like on PC, and I'll get to the technical stuff in a minute because it's a big question mark. But on PC, like this is the way to play the game. Period. Mouse control, amazing. You can reconfigure the keyboard controls. You can make it like suit your style. There are a ton of toggles for like different kinds of like camera nuances and UI, all that stuff. It's like fully featured in terms of PC controls. And the first person mode, which was awful on PlayStation because it was really like, and I remember this in GTA 5 too. I don't know if they ever changed it for PC or what, but it was basically like controlling their kind of like weighty third person character, but in third person. This time, mouse look is instant. There's no delay. There's no, like you're not forced to inhabit the sluggish body of this character. You can, it speeds up the default. Like you're not walking by default, you're kind of like jogging by default. So it makes it feel like more of a first person shooter. You kind of vault over small obstacles automatically. It feels really, really good in first person. You can blow out the FOV. And it's really easy to switch between like first and third if you prefer horseback stuff on in third person and such. So like the way to play, definitely the way to play. Problem is, it's one hell of a resource hog. Like, and I'm like not surprised. Like I think the first day, besides the bugs and such, people were running into like I think the instant response, and this is a habit that even I admit to having, is like anytime I get a new game, I'm like, all right, juice everything to ultra. This is the PC. I'm gonna play it at its best, its prettiest. And if it doesn't work, I kind of get disappointed or sometimes frustrated. And especially if you have
games are a little bit, forward looking with those settings where
yes,
like almost no one can run it at ultra at release. So,
and that's I think some of the backlash around this was like, well, this was a console game on PlayStation 4. Like, why can't I fucking kill it on all the high settings? It's because there's sort of it's a little bit of both, right? It's like it's not. I was talking to Jared, our hardware guy, and he's doing a big benchmark on this game right now, analysis. And he says it's a little bit of both. It's a lot of people. There are a lot of extra settings and graphical effects that most cards will not be able to really play with and contend with, and just juicing everything to ultra is not indicative of like how well it runs necessarily on your PC. It's all you might have to keep it on high or medium. Thing is, it's still going to look amazing and way better than the console version. There are a lot of bells and whistles you can disable to get good frame jumps and such. But even then, like I'm running it 2560 by 1440. I have a GTX 2080 and an i9 9900K processor, 32 gigabytes of RAM, DDR4. So I've like the ideal up to date modern PC, barring like I don't have the Ti or whatever. Like But I should theoretically be able to like juice this game and get good performance, and I can juice it mostly to ultra. I disable like MSAA,
Mhm.
volumetric lighting effects. I kind of push down a bit because those are big resource hogs, and I can maintain about between 60 to 80 frames a second. And if you see like the amount of texture detail and like draw distance and everything going on in this game, it's like that to me. I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah.
Um, I always want it to be better. So I think like the problem is it requires like the presets and all these things, and there's so many switches and levers. And if you haven't been tinkering with graphic settings for a while, this is going to require that. You're going to have to
Wow.
you're going to have to play around to find what works for you. Um, I guess the other issue is, and I've experienced less of this, is that some people are, and I don't know like the breadth of the problems. When a game comes out, it's like hard to quantify like the people mad on Reddit. Do they represent the majority of the player base or what? Like are these
Yeah.
problems widespread, or are they just like kind of popping up because subreddits are really good places to amplify outrage, for better or worse. So I try not to like look at that stuff as indicative of like the whole. A couple days have
Yeah.
passed though. Sorry, Tyler, were you gonna say something?
No, I mean, this does seem to be more widespread as far as people who
Yeah,
just can't run it at all
that's the thing.
in something. Because like
Yeah.
people trying to write about it for competing websites of ours, I guess, have had problems with it as well, and um, it does seem to be quite a few people. Again, I mean, I don't know how many people bought the game on PC, so if it's like 50,000 people having trouble out of 1 million people who bought it, that's different. But I kind of
Yeah,
doubt it sold that well on PC on day one.
yeah,
But
and
Yeah.
like as the days have gone on, like it's become clear to me because like first day I had no problems. I was like, okay, everyone I talked to internally and like other folks like weren't having problems. I was like, okay, who like so I just like didn't like buy into. I didn't buy into. I just didn't like want to in my day one impressions to be like it's bad or it's it's good in that regard because I just didn't know. But now
Mhm.
like last night it crashed 3 times on me. This morning it crashed again, all during the online mode. Um, Performance is totally fine otherwise. We're still seeing some folks who can't launch
Yeah.
it at all, either because of like an antivirus program, like blocking it. It's the launcher itself is kind of buggy and weird, and
Yeah.
it's pretty new. Um,
yeah, you're playing it through the Rockstar launcher, right? To be
yeah,
clear,
yeah,
Mhm.
also on Epic.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
I think the big test of it, I almost feel like they're beta testing it on us because
yeah.
that's the big test is going to be the Steam launch next month.
Yeah.
I think that's where a
Hmm.
lot of their sales are going to come from, right? So
It's
Definitely.
Steam. Yeah.
Um,
It did.
Sorry, Joanna, go on.
I was just gonna say, I think they also released a new patch the other day. I remember Jared saying something about, oh, it always makes him nervous when they release
Hmm.
a game update and he's still in the middle of testing. So, I mean, it's not unheard of for developers to release patches for their games, and then it breaks stuff more than
Yeah,
fixes
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Especially for our
So,
benchmarking guy, it's like,
yeah,
is it going to invalidate half his shit? But it's like I would not recommend right now anyone buy this.
Mhm.
I would wait. I would. That's like where I'm at right now. Um, Even though it's like it's painful because when the multiplayer works and or when all that stuff works, when I'm playing it, it's an astounding like world. It's much slower pace than ever your typical GTA. But it's like a beautifully crafted world, so much detail and so much potential, especially in the multiplayer for role playing and getting into strange shenanigans. Andy Kelly, who played a lot of the multiplayer on console, compared it to Red Dead Online to the early days of DayZ when you just don't
Mm.
know what any interaction with any given person is going to be like.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm just bummed because I want to get in there and I want to see the
Yeah.
potential and like play around with what's going on in like I have all these dreams for role playing, and I spent a couple hours as a graveyard keeper. Just like there were people getting into shootouts in this town, and I would just like carry the dead bodies to the church graveyard, and some like people would start following. Like eventually, people started following me in these like tiny processions, and like they would mourn their fallen comrade who would also attend their own funeral because they would just respawn. But they would say things over the mic, and it was just funny. And there's a lot of room for playfulness. You can kind of get out of it whatever everyone's willing to bring to it, and that's really exciting to me. It's just I don't think it was 100% ready for prime time. It's Rockstar. Like I would expect better quality assurance out of a big release like this. Again, game development's difficult, and sometimes you just can't predict these issues. So I don't know, where does the fault lie? We can't point a finger very easily, and
it just happens. In
a month when it's on Steam. Those of us who are being the guinea pigs of the initial launch will hopefully help them by reporting these issues, iron that stuff out.
Yeah. So
I'll probably play it next month. That'll be a good holiday break game.
Yeah.
Seriously, I want to role play. Can I be an old lady? Can I make an old lady character?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like the only issue I have with the online mode is that like clothes are really expensive and locked by level sometimes. So I don't know. Like I'm still figuring out like how it all works. It's kind of like hard to parse, just like GTA 5. There's just a bunch of shit they throw at you. I'm trying not to worry about it.
The other day, went to the H&M and they were like, "Sorry, sir, you can't buy this shirt. This is a level 6."
It is literally like that. I'm like,
attire.
Let me buy it. But I guess they are markers of progression. Like, but I just wish clothes weren't the thing for that.
Yeah, why can't there be? I mean, okay, like there's certain like specialized armor you can get in WoW, which is indicative of like I did this dungeon or whatever, So I guess that, but when it's something like Red Dead Redemption, it seems, I mean, in terms of storytelling, it seems it would make a lot more sense to tie it into like you need money to buy this rather than you need to be a level.
Well, that's the thing is you need money and a level, which is just frustrating because like anyway, but maybe I just haven't figured out like the economy of that game and like, or I don't know, I just don't want to think about leveling up. I just want to be in that world and in
the same way that GTA Online has been modded, I'm sure someone is already looking at how to create, role-playing servers and things. They could probably unlock all that progression stuff for you. But
I really hope so. The last time I played GTA Online, maybe the only time, like someone was hacking and literally raining down cash on top of me no matter where I went, and then spawning tanks behind me.
Oh my god!
So that's another thing we'll have to.
Yeah, Rockstar has they know that mods and modders like make their games better, but also make them worse because people hack in multiplayer. So they walk this line between trying to lock down the multiplayer as much as possible and knowing that like one of the things that made GTA Online such a hit were those role-playing servers. So I don't know. Yeah, I look forward to people just raining horses on my head.
Horse rain today. But anyway, I have to just get in there and play a bunch more, and hopefully some stability patch or something comes out because I can't play for more than like 20 minutes without hitting a crash or something, a snag of some kind. Or at least last night. But we'll have a review as soon as I can see what is there, which depends on a lot right now. But next week is the goal.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be talking about this game plenty more in the future, I'm sure, or at least I hope so. I hope the PC community takes it and runs with it once it stabilizes. But anyway, that's gonna do it for us today. Thanks for hanging out, you two, on our first kind of run back on Twitch and our new time slot ish. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we push it to 9:30 or something, and so we can all get situated a bit more. We'll figure it out. We will figure it out. But as always, you can catch the show at pcgamer.com/tag/podcast for the Spotify feed, the iTunes feed, the RSS feed, Anchor.fm feed, wherever you like to listen to podcasts. You can find the VOD, the video on demand, at youtube.com/pcgamer after the fact. And you can catch us here in the morning-ish, 9 o'clock-ish Pacific time. We'll lock down something official as we figure out what works best every Thursday.
PC Gamer morning-ish show.
Morning show.
That was the morning show.
Yeah. So I guess, I don't know, a lot of stuff going on in games still. We got Star Wars coming up. But after that, it's kind of, it might be kind of it, right? Is there anything else after Star Wars?
Sure.
Cyberpunk 2077
next year.
Next year.
Yeah, I guess we'll be getting into some Game of the Year stuff and reflection time, and then a break. But yeah, so that's going to do for us this week. Until next week, don't forget to...
Game on?
So much enthusiasm. I love it.
Game
on! Game on! All right, thanks, everybody.
I thought you were going to say like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. That too.